first thing that I have here is this function creates the display. And I'll show you where that's called here in a second. But calling this function activates a for loop. Remember, we just did for loops. They can be very valuable in terms of creating a page from scratch. So it says for I equals 0. Remember this format that we talk about in the JavaScript for loop lesson. For I equals 0, semicolon. And this is the thing that cycles through the entire array. So for every element in that array, which, if we go back here, it's cycling through this array. And so for every element, it's going to do something, okay? And then for every one, it says, and this is a little extra. I made it so that you can have different people can create their own little galleries. So it cycles through and it says if people list, and in this case it's 0, right? So it starts with 0. People list 0. Remember how arrays work? So people list 0 right now is this element. People list 1 would be this. People list 2. People list 3. People list 4. People list 5. People list 6. Okay? So what it does for people list 0, if that value of the include element is yes. Now what I did there is I said basically people can create their own galleries, and if you create the gallery, then and you want Julius Caesar to be in your gallery, then it's going to set this value include equal to yes. Okay? So if that is yes, then all it does is it does exactly what you did in your JavaScript for loop lesson. It takes this text box here, which starts off being blank, right? I define it as blank, and it adds to it image, and it uses our CSS, and I'll show you the thumbnail, and it gives it the title, people list 0, first name, which is Julius, plus a blank, plus people list 0, last name, which is Caesar, okay? And it creates that as the title. Remember, title is what you see. Oh, it's not here. It's in the home. So it's what you see when you click over it, right? So that's pretty basic. You learn that in the first or second, or you learn that in the image lesson from HTML. And then it says it dynamically creates JavaScript on mouse over, okay? So it assigns it to this, and then it gives it an on mouse over, create profile, and then if you click, then it's going to run my feature function, both of which are in this page, which I'll show you here in a second. But then this is the key. Source equals, and then it goes in and it says people list I, which in this case is 0, the photo. And the photo is the link. The photo is the link right here to the image. Okay? So what you're doing is you're saying, basically you're saying, I want to create an image tag that has, rather than having it be static, right? Rather than you having to program the entire page at once, which would limit your flexibility a lot, right? You'd have to put everything in there and you'd create 50, 60, 70 different image tags. In this case, you just create the line once and you pass it variables every time. Do you see how flexible you can be when you do that? So it creates that, and then it says, take that text and put it right here. Now, by the end of cycling through this, it's going to have created 50 or 60 different image tags and put them all into this variable text. And then all I do is I say something you're familiar with from the very first lessons of JavaScript, document.getElementById, call 1, and I'll show you I have that defined actually in the page, make the inner HTML equal to text. And truthfully, I don't even need, I must have changed the way I program that, because I have that as an unordered list, but I'm not using list items. I think for a while I was using list items, and I'm not anymore. So this really should just say inner HTML equals text. Okay? So what that does, and let's go look at that in the actual page. So right here, you got your list of things, right? That's your array, but I don't have any JavaScript really in here. What I do, though, is when the page loads, on load, it runs that function, create display, which we just looked at. And so then all of it, and then down here, div call is down here at the bottom, because all those other things that we're seeing right now are hidden. Okay? So then it takes this area, div call right there, and it fills it with that code. Okay? All these other things are hidden, you see? These are all things that I'm going to get to when I click on it and things start changing. But from the very beginning, the only thing that's showing in this entire page, below some of these things, is this div ID equals call1, and I fill that with the function that sucks in all these different array elements, okay, using this right here, create display, okay? And so now what's important about that? Now you don't see it in the code because it's all generated through the JavaScript. So if I had hard programmed, that's what you call it when you type in everything exactly as it is without variables. If I had put in image class equals thumbnail, title equals, if I had said title equals Julius Caesar and the actual source here, of course we'd see it when we click view source. But in this case, all we see is this down here, that call one, all the way down here at the bottom. Everything else is generated dynamically, which is something really cool that you can do with JavaScript. Okay? So then what happens? So it's set up like this, and then it dynamically creates the on mouse over. And look what happens when I do on mouse over, right? Now these are things